Am I clearly visible and audible to you people? Kindly someone give me a thumbs up in the chat box if I'm clearly visible and audible to you people, so I can start the class ahead. Fast, fast. Okay, thank you. Thanks for your confirmation. Thank you, Anshul. Thanks for your confirmation. So I welcome you all for today's session. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Dr. Priyanka Sachdev here, medical entrance educator on Unacademy. So today I am here to continue my batch which I have launched, a free batch for FMG students. So I'm targeting all FMG students and I will help them to crack FMG, especially this December FMG, which is going to happen on 12th of December 2021. So we have almost 80 days left to crack it. Done. 80 days are left to be there. So in these 80 days, before 80 days, only in 60 days, I will help you to complete your syllabus. I will be a mentor also. I will be a educator also, and I will help you in teaching pathology, pharmacology, microbiology here for this FMG. So okay, so I'm starting here. So today I am starting pathology. We have already started pathology in this batch. Already 3 lectures are done. In that, we have covered the first chapter of pathology, cell adaptations and cell injury and cell death. Apoptosis, necrosis, calcification, aging, everything is done in the first chapter. In the second chapter, inflammation, yesterday we have completed. Acute inflammation, vascular events, cellular events, everything. And in the chronic inflammation, healing, wound healing, it is completed. So the 2 chapters are completed. I am going to start 3rd chapter today. So those who are newcomers here and those who have not attended these 2 lectures classes, they can request me personally. I will send you the links. Some links are on the YouTube, some links are on the Unacademy platform, but all those are free of cost. I will send you the links and request you to watch the recordings. You can't afford to miss these lectures recordings. Done. So today I am starting hemodynamics. So without wasting any further time, I am starting with it. In hemodynamics, you have to study these 7 topics specially. You have to study edema in detail, most detail, then hyperemia and congestion, especially congestion of 3 organs. CVC lung, CVC liver, and CVC spleen. Three organs congestion you have to learn. Then thrombosis in detail, the types of thrombosis, mechanism of thrombosis, Virchow triad you have to learn. Embolism, the 2 types of embolism, arterial embolism, venous embolism, differences between them, that you have to learn. Then ischemia, the mechanism of ischemia, infarction, and then shock. You can't afford missing it. The most important 5-star important topics for university exams also and for MCQs also for FMGs. That. So Dr. Bobby is asking from where we can get the link of the last lecture. You message me personally either on Telegram or WhatsApp. I will share you the link. Yeah? Okay, and it is available on YouTube, Let's Crack NEET PG channel and on Unacademy platform. All of them are free. So here I am starting with the first topic today. So I will be a little bit fast. Here I am starting the first topic today, edema. Now it is a difficult topic. I will try my best to help you in understanding it. Edema. So these will be the headings under which we will finish edema. So what is edema? What is edema? You know what is edema? Edema in Hindi it is known as sujan. Patient will come and tell you, doctor, I am having sujan here, there. मुझे body में कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी part पे सूज गया है, सूजन आ गई है. So that is edema. It looks like this. So what is the definition of edema? Edema, you know, whole body is made up of cells, made up of organs. All organs are made up of cells. You can see the cells here. You can see the cells. So cells contains the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm made up of water. When this water comes out of the cell and it gets accumulated between the cells, it constitutes edema. It constitutes edema. This space is known as interstitial space. The space between the cells is known as interstitial. Interstitial space. So if the fluid get collected in interstitial space, it constitutes edema. So the definition of edema is it is abnormal and excessive accumulation of fluid in the interstitial space. You understand what is interstitial space? The space between the cells. That is known as edema. That is known as edema. What is the definition of effusion? Effusion is related to edema only. It is excessive collection of the fluid in cavities, not in interstitial space. You know, body has multiple cavities. Can you see? We have a cavity, pleural cavity around the lung. Around the heart, we have a pericardial cavity. So if excessive fluid is collected here in the cavities, it is not known as edema. It is known as effusion. But the pathogenesis of edema and effusion is same. So we will study these 2 diseases together. So that is the definition of edema and effusion. Now I will tell you normal tissue exchange. Before understanding pathogenesis, you should understand what is normal. What is normal? Now listen, normal fluid exchange. This is the artery. Artery contains pure blood. By pure blood, I mean it contains oxygen and it contains nutrients. This is a vein. It carries impure blood. By impure, I mean it carries carbon dioxide and it carries vestigial material, not nutrients. It carries waste material. Yes. So that is the thing. That is the, and between artery and vein, you can see the capillaries connecting between them. This is the capillary. So capillary is the most important. Now listen, imagine a cell here. So this is the artery, vein. So you can see this is the capillary. This is the capillary. This is the arterial end of the capillary. So capillary have a arterial end and a venule end. And in center, there is a capillary. So this is the arterial end of the capillary. This is venous end of the capillary. And you can see a capillary. I will explain you Starling's law here. Now listen, arterial end is there, venous end is there, and a capillary is there. This is a cell. This is a cell of any organ. Any organ. It can be heart, it can be kidney, it can be liver, spleen, any organ. So whenever arterial end carries pure blood is coming from here. Pure blood is coming from here, from the arterial end. It carries oxygen and it carries nutrients. So what is happening actually? From the blood, fluid comes out. Actually, it happens normally inside me, inside you, inside everyone. This is happening normally. Just a second. It is happening normally, right? So fluid came out. This fluid contains oxygen and nutrient. So cell will take oxygen, cell will take nutrient from the fluid which is coming out. This is the fluid. Let me mark the fluid. This is all fluid coming out. From that fluid, cell has taken oxygen and nutrient, and cell will give carbon dioxide in the fluid and vestigial material in the fluid. And this fluid will enter again in the venous end of the capillary. So normally there is no edema, it is dry. There is no edema, there is dry. Is there an echo in my voice? Yeah, she's saying my sound is not clear. Am I clearly audible to all of you? Give me a thumbs up if I'm clearly audible to all of you. So yes, I guess the problem is from your network, I guess. Anyways, so normally there is dry. Fluid came out inside me, inside you, inside all normal human beings. Fluid came out, but after exchange, the oxygen and nutrition is taken by the cell and carbon dioxide and vestigial material is put out by the cell. Then fluid again enters. So how it is happening? How it is happening that first fluid is coming out and then it is entering inside. First it is coming out and then it is entering inside. How it is happening? There should be some physics besides this. Huh? So there are some pressures acting on it. The pressures have to be understood by Starling's law. You can see these are the multiple cells I have drawn here. These are the cells. It is an organ. Organ is made up of cells. It is made up of cells. So you can see there are two pressures, two main pressures. Number one is hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure is pressure due to water. Number second is osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure is pressure due to protein. Blood contains protein. So it contains albumin. This is the albumin present inside the blood capillary. So these are the two main pressures. Hydrostatic pressure is the water present in the blood. It is always push the blood outside, push the fluid outside. So it is the outward pressure. You can see the arrow. It is the outward pressure. Done. And oncotic pressure is the pressure due to protein. So protein pull the water inside. So it is an inward pressure. It is an inward pressure. So first learn this golden rule. Hydrostatic pressure, as the name indicates, hydrostatic pressure. It is the pressure due to water and it is the outward. It is the outward pressure. And the second is oncotic pressure. It is pressure due to protein and it is inward pressure. This is the golden rule. You have to learn it. You have to learn it, the golden rule. So there are two types of pressure. Hydrostatic, I will tell you the values also. Hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure. Hydrostatic is outward. It is outward pressure and oncotic pressure is inward pressure. These are the two major pressure present inside a capillary. Inside a capillary. Now listen, oncotic pressure is due to protein. Now protein is same throughout. The whatever protein is entering from the arterial end, this is albumin. That same protein is carrying on the venous end also. So oncotic pressure is same throughout. It is always 25 mm of Hg. It is always 25 mm. You have to learn the values. 25 mm of Hg. Oncotic pressure is same. But what about hydrostatic pressure? As the blood is entering from the arterial end of the capillary. This is the capillary. As the blood is entering, the blood, as I have told you, fluid will come out. Fluid will come out, blood will come out for the exchange. And then again it will enter, again at the venous end. From arterial end, fluid comes out. And after exchange, the oxygen and carbon dioxide with the cells, then again it enters from the venous end. This happens normally. Fluid comes out, do the exchange, and then again it enters. So when fluid comes out, water will decrease now. Initially the hydrostatic pressure is 38, but when fluid will came out, the hydrostatic pressure, because water is coming out, so hydrostatic pressure inside will decrease. So at venous end it is only 12. It is only 12. So this is the summary till now. Let me draw a capillary for you people. This is a capillary. This is a capillary. This is the arterial end of the capillary, and this is the venous end of the capillary. This is the arterial end. This is venous end. What I have told you till now is that oncotic pressure is same at arterial end also, at venous end also, and it is always 25 mm of Hg, 25 mm of Hg, because coating is same throughout. What the other thing I have told you is that hydrostatic pressure is different. Hydrostatic pressure at arterial end is more, it is 38. But as the fluid will come out, so water will decrease, so hydrostatic pressure is decreased. So on reaching the venous end, hydrostatic pressure is only 12. Learn the values, learn the values. Now, one more thing I have told you, hydrostatic pressure is the outward pressure, and oncotic pressure is the inward pressure. Oncotic pressure is the inward pressure. I have already told you this. Now at arterial end, see the mechanism. See the mechanism. This is the outward pressure. This is inward pressure. Which is more? Which is more? Hydrostatic pressure is 38 and oncotic is 25. Of course, hydrostatic is more than oncotic. We can see. So 38 minus 25, you do. It is 13 mm of Hg. And it is outward. It is outward. Outward is more. So net pressure is 13 mm outward. So that's where fluid moves out. That's where fluid moves out. And see at the venous end. See at the venous end, what is happening at the venous end? Just a second. See at venous end, what is happening at the venous end? At the venous end, oncotic pressure is 25 and hydrostatic pressure is only 12. So inward pressure is more than outward. And again, the difference is 13. Again, the difference is 13, but this 13 is inward 13. So whatever fluid was coming out with 13 pressure outward, the same fluid will goes in with 13 inward pressure. That's why outside is always dry. And why this is happening? पहले 13 से बाहर आ रहा है, बाद में 13 से ही अंदर जा रहा है, because here is a cell. Here is a cell. You can see there is a cell, and the fluid is coming out to do the exchange with the cell. So fluid first comes out with 13 mm of Hg pressure, then does the necessary exchange. The fluid will give oxygen to the cell, take carbon dioxide out of the cell, and then again fluid will enter inside the capillary by 13 mm. So whatever pressure fluid is coming out, with the same pressure fluid is entering inside. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. That is the whole thing. That is the whole thing. So two pressures are there, as I have told you: hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure. Oncotic pressure is always same throughout. It is 25, and hydrostatic pressure is different. The same diagram shown here also. Can you see a blood capillary here? This is the blood capillary. This is a longitudinal diagram. Can you see a blood capillary? This is a blood capillary. This is the endothelial lining of the capillary. See the endothelial lining. These are the cells you can see. This is one cell. This is another cell. This is another cell. You can see the cell, and you can see the hydrostatic pressure at arterial end is 38. At venous end is 12, but oncotic pressure throughout is 25. So at arterial end, hydrostatic is more than oncotic. So the difference is 13. At venous end, oncotic is more than hydrostatic. So the difference is 13. This difference 13 is net outward pressure, and this difference 13 is net inward pressure. So with whatever fluid, you can see the background yellow color. This is fluid. This fluid is coming out surrounding the cell to do the exchange. So first with 13 mm fluid will come out, and then with 13 mm fluid will enter inside the cell. Give me a thumbs up, everyone. How many audience are listening? I want thumbs up from everyone. One thumbs up from one of you. Give me a thumbs up if you got it. If you don't got it, write your doubt specifically in the chat box, and don't be shy to ask your doubt. It is a free class. You can ask your doubts anyways. Done. So don't become shy. If you have any doubt, please ask it specifically. Listen, these were the two major pressures. Let me tell you two minor pressures also. There are two minor pressures also. There are total 4 pressures. These were the two major, hydrostatic and oncotic pressure of the capillary. The same hydrostatic and oncotic pressure is of interstitial fluid. What is interstitial fluid here? I'm marking with green. Here you can see the space between the cells. This is known as interstitial fluid. So interstitial fluid, a minute amount of fluid is always present in the interstitium. That is known as interstitial fluid. So hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure of interstitial fluid is also there, but that is minor. Here, the hydrostatic pressure is due to the water present in interstitium. So it will push the water inside the capillary. So here hydrostatic pressure is inward pressure for interstitium, and oncotic pressure will pull the fluid here in the interstitium. So that will be outward as compared to capillary. So यहाँ पे उल्टे हो जाएंगे फंडे. यहाँ पे फंडे उल्टे हो जाएंगे. Have you got it? Have you got it? Say yes or no. Say something. Say yes or no. Have you got it or no? So I will show you one more diagram here. Okay, so okay, I will draw it for you. So this is the capillary. This is the capillary. This is the arterial end of the capillary. This is the venous end of the capillary. This is tissue made up of cells. This is tissue made up of cells. And here is the interstitial space between the tissue. So I will tell you four pressure. One is hydrostatic pressure of the capillary. One is oncotic pressure of the capillary. These two are different at arterial end and venous end. At arterial end, it is 38 and 25, hydrostatic and oncotic. At venous end, it is 12 and 25. Oncotic is always 25. Hydrostatic is different. So these are the two pressures. Another two pressures are of interstitial fluid. Here, interstitial fluid. The same two things, hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure. If you want to know their values are hydrostatic pressure is 4 mm and oncotic is 8. These are small amount, but the directions are different. Hydrostatic pressure of the capillary is outward. Oncotic pressure of the capillary is inward, but hydrostatic pressure of the interstitium is inward and oncotic pressure of the interstitium is outward. Give me a thumbs up. Everyone give me a thumbs up. So these are the four basic pressures according to Starling's law that are acting inside a human body normally, inside all normal human bodies. These are acting at capillary level, inside me also, inside you also. At every moment, these pressures are working inside us. We are unaware of them, but these pressures are at this moment also, these are working inside us. So this is how at all my organs, the fluid from the capillary is first coming out by 13 mm of Hg, does the necessary exchange, and with 13 mm of Hg only, the fluid again back enters. That's why my all tissues are dry. I don't have edema because the pressures are all right. All the pressures are all right. Outward is doing outward work, inward is doing inward work. So 13 mm equal and opposite, they are balancing each other. फिर भी अगर थोड़ा बहुत accumulation होता है, this is 13 outward, this is 13 inward. So ideally there should be no accumulation of fluid at cellular level. There should be no accumulation because with whatever pressure fluid is coming out, with the same pressure fluid is entering inside. So ideally there should be not. But if still a small amount of fluid if remaining, God has given us a backup. The name of that backup is lymphatics. The name of that backup is lymphatics. God has given us another vessel known as lymphatics. So whatever fluid get accumulated at cellular level, the lymphatic will take it away. So again, my tissue will be dry. I don't have edema. Have you got it? Done? Have you got it? In heart failure, Milind, I will come on the pathology. First understand normal. Then I will come on the pathologies, why edema occurs in different situations. I will explain you 6 different situations. Done? Should I proceed ahead? That was normal. If you can understand normal, then only you can understand abnormality. Now see this diagram. The 4 pressures are in front of you. Hydrostatic pressure of the capillary at arterial end, at venous end. That second is oncotic pressure of the capillary. It is always 25. The third pressure is hydrostatic pressure of the interstitium. The fourth is oncotic pressure of the interstitium. So the 4 pressures, 4 colors, red, blue, green and yellow. You can see the four pressures according with their diagrams also and with their directions also. Should I proceed ahead? If you understood this, then only you will be able to understand the pathology. So at arterial end, what is happening? At arterial end, the hydrostatic pressure is more than oncotic pressure. So outward pressure is more than inward pressure. So the net difference is 13, but that is outward. That's where fluid come out. At artery, fluid will come out. Do the necessary exchange. After that, at venous end, what is happening? Oncotic pressure is more than hydrostatic pressure. So 25 minus 12. So it will be 13, but this 13 is inward. So whatever fluid came out at arterial end, the same fluid will move inside. That's why the tissue is always dry. That's why. And if there is a small amount of fluid collected also, the backup is lymphatics. Lymphatics are always present as a backup. Lymphatics are all normally there is a balance. That's why tissue is dry. There is no edema. Have you got it? Have you got it? Should I proceed ahead? Have you got it? So whatever fluid coming out with 13 mm of Hg, the same fluid is going in with 13 mm of Hg. And whatever is remaining, a small amount, backup is lymphatic. Everyone give me a thumbs up. Everyone. If you got this, then let me come on the pathogenesis of edema. How edema occurs. If you understood normal, now understanding the pathology is a fun for you. You tell me the 6 mechanisms by which edema occurs. 6 mechanisms. Now, you consider major 2 pressures. That is capillary wale dono. That is hydrostatic and oncotic. hydrostatic and oncotic pressure of the capillary, not of the interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid is a minor component. Major component mein hydrostatic is outward pressure and oncotic is inward pressure. So any condition which increases hydrostatic pressure will cause edema, because normally it was 38 and oncotic was 25. If it increases more than 38, say it become 45, it become 50, so the difference will increase. So वो 13 से balance नहीं करेगा and fluid will accumulate. Or any condition which decreases oncotic pressure. So any condition which increases hydrostatic pressure, I will give you the examples. Any condition which decreases oncotic pressure, these are the capillary pressures, major wale capillary pressures, either increase hydrostatic pressure or decrease oncotic pressure. और minor वाले उल्टे हो जाएं, minor वाले में decrease hydrostatic pressure और increase oncotic pressure, क्योंकि minor वाले उल्टे हैं, these are opposite directions. So minor वाले में ये हो जाए, this is the, इन दोनों को मैंने एक ही में ले लिया, the minor वाले both together I am taking in one condition. So these are the three conditions. Apart from it, lymphatics are obstructed. Lymphatics are back up now due to any condition if lymphatics are obstructed. So these are the four causes of edema. The fifth is sodium water retention. The sixth is increased capillary permeability. I will give you the exact mechanism and example of each of them. Have you got it? Should I start? This diagram is our master diagram in which I am going to explain you the six conditions, the six types of edema. Give me a thumbs up, everyone. Those who are listening, I want thumbs up from everyone. Then only I will proceed. So I will show you six different mechanisms, six different conditions of six different types of edema in this one diagram only. So this is our master diagram. You have to understand this diagram first. I have not got thumbs up even from all of you. Still it is pending. Okay, done. Okay. So listen. This is from Robbins. You can see. Okay, I will tell you just a second. So the first scenario. I'm sorry, यहाँ कहाँ पहुँच गया? Just a second. I just jumped ahead. Just a second. Something went wrong. Let me go behind. Let me go to the pathogenesis first. First, I will teach you pathogenesis, then types of edema. Where is the pathogenesis? Okay, just give me 1 minute. Something went wrong. Okay, so these are the six causes. This is the first case. Any condition which increases hydrostatic pressure. So increase capillary hydrostatic pressure. So any condition which is increasing capillary hydrostatic pressure. So outward pressure will be more than inward. So balance equal. They will not be equal and out. यहाँ पे तो 13 है venous end पे, लेकिन arterial end पे 13 से ज्यादा हो जाएगा. So it will be 15, 20 और यहाँ तो 13 ही रहेगा. So they will not balance. So fluid will come out with more pressure, say 20, 30, and it will go inside only with 13. So some fluid will remain at the interstitial space. So that will be the thing. So there will be edema. Tell me the reasons. There are two reasons. Number one, cardiac failure, heart failure. Someone was asking, now Milan, how edema occurs in heart failure, cardiac failure. Listen, what is happening? This is the heart. You can see the four chambers of the heart. You can see the left side. You can see the right side. You can see the vessels. You already know left side se kya aata hai jata hai, right side se kya aata hai jata hai. You already know the whole circle. I'm not explaining it. Imagine a situation in which left ventricle is failing. Okay, I will take both ventricles one by one. Imagine a situation in which left ventricle is failing. Left ventricle is not doing the systole. It is not pumping. What will happen? Blood will not go ahead. If blood will not go ahead, where it will go? It will go backward. It will go backward where? It will go in the left auricle. It will go in the pulmonary vein. It will go in the pulmonary vein. From the pulmonary vein, it will go in the lungs. So this pulmonary vein is a vessel now. So more blood will enter. More blood will enter due to the backflow of the blood. More blood means more water. More water means more hydrostatic pressure. So you have increased the hydrostatic pressure. So since there is more, it will lead to pulmonary edema. But how? Because of increased hydrostatic pressure. Because there is more blood inside it, more water inside it. So the mechanics got disturbed. The Starling's law got disturbed. Oncotic pressure is still same. It is 25. But hydrostatic pressure is not 38. It is more than 38 because there is more water. So the difference is more than 13. So that's why the extra fluid will come out and it will accumulate in the lungs. It will lead to pulmonary edema. We all know it. Okay. Have you got it? This is the first example. Let me take another example. If right ventricle got failed, it is not pumping properly. It is not doing the systole. What will happen? Blood will not go ahead. Okay. So where the blood will go? Blood will go backward. From right ventricle, it will go to right auricle. From right auricle, it will enter to systemic SVC and IVC. It will enter to superior inferior vena cava. So more blood will enter in superior inferior vena cava. More blood means more water. More water means more hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure is due to water. So there is more hydrostatic pressure. Oncotic pressure is still same. It is 25. But hydrostatic pressure increased more than 38. So the difference will be more, unbalance will occur, and the extra fluid will come out in the form of the fluid, in the form of the edema, in all organs of the body. So all organ of the body will have edema, that is known as anasarca. We all know left heart failure leads to pulmonary edema and right heart failure leads to anasarca. That is the summary. But how exact mechanism at capillary level, if you talk about, it is due to increased hydrostatic pressure of the pulmonary vein or SVC IVC. Give me a thumbs up. Everyone give me a thumbs up if you like this example. So this is the first example of increased hydrostatic pressure. Increased hydrostatic pressure leading to edema in cardiac failure. In heart failure or cardiac failure, increased hydrostatic pressure due to the backflow, more blood, more water. So that is increased hydrostatic pressure. Second example is postural edema. Do you understand what is postural edema? There is a traffic policeman whose job is standing whole day. So he is standing at the signal whole day. So whole day, this is the legs, these are the hands. So whole day, these are the veins of the legs. So due to gravity, since he is standing all the time, due to gravity, all the blood is pulled into the leg veins. Due to gravity, he is standing all the time. So all the blood is pulled into the legs, and that's why more blood in the leg veins. More blood means more water means more hydrostatic pressure. So the mechanism will got imbalance. Because of imbalance, the extra fluid will come out. So he will have edema in the legs or pedal edema. That's why it is common in the persons, not only traffic policeman, the person who have a job of standing all the time. Give me a thumbs up again, give me a thumbs up. So that is known as postural edema, that is due to posture. So this is the second example of increased hydrostatic pressure. Should I proceed ahead? Coming on the second mechanism, this was increased hydrostatic pressure. I had given two examples here. Number one, heart failure, and number two, postural edema. Coming on the second mechanism, decrease oncotic pressure. Increase hydrostatic pressure नहीं, अब मैं ले रही हूँ decrease oncotic pressure. I am taking decrease oncotic pressure now. Decrease oncotic pressure. So decrease oncotic pressure की वजह से क्या होगा? You tell me. Hydrostatic pressure is same. It is 38 at the arterial end. Let me talk. So it is 38 at the arterial end, and it is 12 at the venous end, but oncotic pressure is decreasing. Oncotic pressure normally is 25 everywhere. It is decreasing because there is less protein. So again, imbalance will occur. Due to the imbalance, fluid will come out. Now inward pressure is decreasing. Outward is same, but inward oncotic pressure is decreasing. So what are the reasons? The main protein which causes oncotic pressure is albumin. So we have less albumin in the blood, so less oncotic pressure. So any condition which decreases albumin in the blood will decrease oncotic pressure, and that will cause edema. That is hypoalbuminemia is the cause of edema. Hypoalbuminemia. Normally, how much albumin is present in the blood? What is total protein in the blood? Total protein is 8 gram per deciliter. Out of that 8, how much is the albumin? Albumin is 5. Albumin, this is the normal level. Let me tell you where it is written. I have written it somewhere. Okay, yeah. So normal albumin is 5. If albumin is less than 5, then it will lead to edema. Albumin less than 5. From the 8, less than 5. If total protein become less than 5, that is less than 63%. If I consider 8 as 100%, 5 is 63%. So normally protein in the blood, in my blood, in your blood, we all have 8 grams of protein per deciliter. If our protein decreases less than 5 gram per deciliter, this reduction is 63%. That is more than 63% reduction occurs. Then we will have edema because our oncotic pressure will drop less than 25. It is normally 25 mm of Hg. You have to learn these numbers for your MCQs. Done. And this is the total protein, 8 and 5. If you talk about albumin become less than 2.5. Have you got it? Total protein, let me summarize. Total protein, I am having total protein of 8 gram per deciliter. Out of that, my albumin is 3.5 gram per deciliter. This is normal. If total protein become less than 5 gram per deciliter, or albumin become less than 2.5 gram per deciliter, that is reduction occurs more than 63%. It is known as reduction occur more than 63%. It will lead to edema. That is the summary. Give me a thumbs up. Without any confusion, learn these figures for your MCQs. I will launch all these MCQs in the form of the polls. which I have already asked in your past papers of FMG. Give me a thumbs up, everyone, everyone, everyone. Yes, Melinda, I will come on that liver cirrhosis. Don't worry. Done, done. Tell me the examples. Tell me the examples. I am telling you any condition which decreases protein in the blood. This is protein in the blood of a patient. Can you see the red dots is the protein? This is the blood vessel. This is the blood vessel. That is protein 8 gram. 8 gram per deciliter protein is there. If any condition decreasing this protein, it will lead to edema. So tell me the condition which decreases this protein. Protein aata kahan se hai? From where the protein is coming to the blood. There are two sources of protein. Number one, it comes from diet. Whatever I eat egg, I eat whatever protein rich fruits, vegetables, anything if I am eating that contains protein. The protein will come in the mouth, it will come in the stomach, it will come in the intestine and it will get absorbed. So protein comes from the diet. Number one. Number two, liver synthesized protein. Liver also synthesizes protein and put it in the blood. Put it in the blood. And protein is excreted via kidney. It is excreted via, normally a kidney do not excrete protein, but if kidney have nephritic or nephrotic syndrome, then kidney excrete protein in urine. Protein is excreted in urine by the kidney in nephritic and nephrotic, basically nephrotic. I will come on the details. Done. So this is the whole scenario. It comes in the blood via two routes. One is GIT, one is liver, and it leaves the blood via one route, via kidney. Have you got it? Now I will tell you the three reasons of decreased protein. Either patient have malnutrition, that is, he is eating the protein, but protein cannot be absorbed. So the first condition is malnutrition. That is kwashiorkor, that is PAM. You already know what is PAM, what is kwashiorkor. So any malnutrition condition, patient is eating, but absorption is poor. Give me a thumbs up. That may be the first reason. Second reason, liver cirrhosis. Milind was telling, liver cirrhosis, liver is cirrhotic. So liver is not synthesizing any protein. So that is the second condition. Second condition. Number three, kidney have nephritic or nephrotic syndrome. So kidney, so normally whatever I am eating in the diet, that is absorbed. Liver is also healthy, liver is also synthesizing, but from the diet and from the liver, whatever protein coming in the blood, all of it is excreted in kidney because kidney have nephritic syndrome. So there are three reasons. Number one, cirrhosis in the liver. You can say liver failure. You can say protein malnutrition, that is in diet malnutrition, and you can say renal failure. Renal failure, that is nephritic or nephrotic, basically nephrotic. Nephritic में mild होता है, nephrotic में ज़्यादा होता है. Give me a thumbs up, everyone. So these are the three reasons of decreased oncotic pressure. Decrease. So till now we have done two reasons. Out of the six, we have understood two causes of edema. The first cause was increased hydrostatic pressure, and the second cause was decreased oncotic pressure. You tell me the examples. Increased hydrostatic pressure lead to edema in the heart failure. Heart failure में edema is due to increase, and postural edema is due to increased hydrostatic pressure. Decreased oncotic pressure is liver failure, renal failure, and malnutrition. Edema in these conditions is due to decreased oncotic pressure. Edema in these two conditions is due to increased hydrostatic pressure. So you have to be very sure. Patient will come to you. Patient don't know anything. Patient will come to you. Doctor साहब सूजन हो गई है. Doctor साहब I am having edema. So he don't know the cause, whether liver is problematic, kidney is problematic, or heart is problematic. He don't know. All the organs can lead the same symptom, edema. And for symptomatic relief, you will give the diuretic. Diuretic is like paracetamol. If I am having fever, I will take paracetamol. Paracetamol will temporarily reduce my temperature. It will not cure the cause of the fever. Fever can be due to COVID. It can be due to typhoid. It can be due to malaria. It can be due to anything. So I have to treat the cause. So diuretic is like paracetamol. It will extra fluid will be excreted in urine. So it will increase urine volume. It will increase the volume of the urine. So extra fluid will be excreted in urine. So temporarily edema is withheld. But you have to fix the cause. Now you have to fix the cause. If kidney is problematic, you have to treat nephrotic syndrome. If liver is problematic, you have to do liver transplant. If heart is problematic, you have to increase the ejection of the heart by giving some inotropic drugs. Have you got it? So treatment is entirely different, diagnosis is entirely different. So you will become a doctor. It is very common. Patient will come to you, doctor, I am having edema here, there, whole body. So edema is there, just prescribe diuretic. Okay, you take these diuretic. It is a temporary relief. It is not a permanent relief. And do these investigation. I don't know whether your heart is problematic, your liver is problematic, or your kidney. All these three major vital organs can lead to edema. If your heart is problematic, do a echo. Just take a detailed history. History will also give the clues what may be the cause. Done. After that, still if you are unsure, do an echocardiogram to rule out heart, do an LFT to rule out liver, and LFT along with that sonography or CT scan to see the cirrhosis. Done. And for kidney, you can do a RFT and urine analysis. So these investigations, you will write the patient, do these investigations, then I will come to a conclusion, what is the organ involved, what is the cause of your edema. Then, and symptomatic relief is diuretic. Give me a thumbs up, everyone. Have you got it? So these are the first two causes, the most important one. Let me come on the third cause, lymphatic obstruction. As I have told you, God has given lymphatic as a backup to us. Can you see? Can you see? This is the capillary. This is the capillary here. This is the arterial end of the capillary. This is the venous end of the capillary. At arterial end, the difference of hydrostatic and oncotic pressure is 13 outward. At venous end, the difference of hydrostatic and oncotic pressure is 13 inward. That's why at arterial end, when blood is entering at arterial end, so with 13 mm of Hg, blood comes out with this pressure because it is outward. After doing exchange at cellular level, at venous end with 13 mm of Hg, the blood again, the fluid again enters at the venous end. So organ remains dry. Fluid is coming, doing the exchange and going again. So the organ ultimately remains dry. That is the whole funda. But due to any small disbalance here, there, hydrostatic pressure, oncotic pressure, arterial end, venous end, if due to disbalance, some small amount of fluid got collected here, God has given a backup, that is lymphatic. Due to any reason, if lymphatics got obstructed, the backup is gone. Backup is gone. So the organ will lead to edema. Organs will lead to edema. So lymphatic obstruction can be a cause. It will lead to edema known as lymphedema. So edema due to lymphatic obstruction is known as lymphoedema. Lymphoedema is the edema only. Then due to lymphatic obstruction. Give me the examples where it happens. The most common example. Can anyone of you from the audience? Yes? I'm asking to you. Anyone from you? Yes. Anyone from you? This, you see, breast cancer is common in females, especially. It is the most common cancer of females in the world and second most common of cancer in India. So this is a breast cancer. The regional lymph nodes of the breast cancer is axillary lymph nodes. Can you see in the axilla of the female? These are the axillary lymph nodes. These are the axillary lymph nodes. So actually tumor first occurs in the breast. You can see these are the tumor cells. First they involve the breast, they form a lump there, then they travel to the axillary lymph nodes. Then tumor involves the axillary lymph nodes gradually one by one, and then from the lymph nodes it will come to the blood and it will go do a distant metastasis, that is in the brain and other organs, you know. So distant metastasis can always happen. Done. So this is the whole scenario. So you are a surgeon, she is a patient and she is having a breast lump. So you will do of course a surgery, of course. Or you will do a surgery, that is the only treatment. So in surgery, what you will take out? You will take out the lump, definitely. You will take out the tumor. You will take out the lump from the breast. What else you will take out? Would you like to take out these lymph nodes also? Yes, it is always a part of surgery. So we also take out the lymphatics of the axilla. So in the surgery, we take out two things. Number one, lump from the breast, and number two, axillary lymph nodes or lymphatics from the axilla, because there is a high chance that tumor has already spread it to the axilla. So such females in which you will remove these, why God has given these lymphatics to these females, to all females, not only this female, I mean all human beings in the axilla. Why lymphatics are there? Lymphatics will control the edema of the hand. Now you have removed the lymphatics of one axilla, one side, so that hand will be swelled of such female throughout the life. So that is a lymphoedema. So तुमने उसको कैंसर से तो बचा लिया, लेकिन उसको lifelong lymphoedema दे दिया. So that is the morbidity. That is the side effect of the surgery. You can say morbidity. So we have to prevent the female from metastasis. We have to take axillary lymph nodes out. There is no scope. So when you take the lymph nodes out, the female will have this as a side effect. As a side effect of the surgery, you can say unavoidable side effect. You cannot avoid it. So that is the lymphoedema, most common example. So removal of the axillary lymph nodes during mastectomy in the carcinoma of breast. So the affected arm from that, right or left, whatever you are taking out, that arm will show edema. That arm will show edema. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. That is the first example of lymphoedema. Second, yes, Hari Krishna, I'm coming on it, filariasis. So you know filaria, Wuchereria bancrofti is the name of the parasite, or filaria parasite in short. So that is a tendency to enter in the lymphatic and block the lymphatic, especially the legs wala lymphatic. Can you see this is a lymphatic? Can you see this is a lymphatic vessel? Here I am marking. And can you see what is present inside the lymphatic? A bunch of parasites. Can you see the bunch of worms, parasites? So they are just blocking the lymphatic. So since the lymphatics are blocked, the patient will present with edema of that particular leg. The leg is such swelled, it is looking like the leg of an elephant. That's why it is known as elephantitis. The disease is known as elephantitis. Hindi mein bolte hain hathi pav. Do you know Hindi? Hathi pav. So elephantitis or hathi pav. That is, it occurs in genitals also. It occurs in genitals also. In genitals and in legs. So because of the blockage of the lymphatics by Wolteria bancrofti or filaria worm. It occurs in scrotum and in legs. It is known as elephantitis. Should I move ahead? That is the second example. The third example, sometimes congenitally the child have lymphatic channels abnormal. They are blocked. Congenitally, the lymphatic channels are blocked or they are obstructed. So the child will have hereditary lymphoedema, and it is known as Milroy disease. It is known as Milroy disease. So the child is swelled all over the body because of lymphatics are obstructed congenitally hereditary. So that is known as Milroy disease. So three examples are there. Breast का तीनों का मैंने diagram दिखाया है. This is the breast one example in which female will present lymphedema of the arm. This is the example of Wolteria bancrofti filariasis in which patient will present with the edema of the foot and leg and scrotum. Done. And this is the child present edema all over the body. That is hereditary lymphedema Milroy disease. Give me a thumbs up. So we will revise now. Then we will move forward. The first cause was increased hydrostatic pressure. Second cause was decreased oncotic pressure. And the third cause was lymphatic obstruction. Tell me the examples. Examples are important. So increased hydrostatic pressure, two examples. Heart failure, number one, and postural edema are the two examples of increased hydrostatic pressure. I have given you the detail why. Decreased oncotic pressure. Oncotic means protein. Protein से तीन organs related हैं. Number one, diet, that is intestine, that is malnutrition. Number two, liver forms protein, so liver failure. Number three, kidney excretes protein, so nephrotic syndrome, renal failure. So heart failure आपका increased hydrostatic pressure में है. Liver failure or renal failure decreased oncotic pressure में है. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Lymphatic obstruction, I told you three examples here. 1, 2, 3. Number one, breast cancer. In the female, the breast cancer after not due to breast cancer. Breast cancer is not causing lymphedema. The surgery of the breast cancer is causing lymphedema. So it is the surgeon who is giving lymphedema to the patient, but it is unavoidable. If I'm a surgeon, I will also do. I will warn the patient after the surgery, you will have edema lifelong in this arm. I'm warning you, but there is no way out. We cannot leave tumor in your body. It will be metastatic and you will die. To save you, we have to do the surgery, and surgery have its own side effects, and you will have this adverse effect afterwards. So you have to warn your patient. Otherwise, बाद में patient बोलेगा आपने तो बताया ही नहीं था हमें. Done. So you have to warn your patients. So that is breast cancer surgery. Number one. Number two is, what was it? Filariasis, Wolteria bancrofti. That will obstruct the lymphatics of leg. It will cause edema in the foot, leg, and scrotum. That is elephantitis. The third is Milroy disease. That is congenital hereditary lymphoedema in which lymphatics of the child is obstructed congenitally. So these are the examples till now. Let me move to the fourth one. So Hardi is asking, ma'am, this patient can take diuretics after the surgery. You are asking about the breast patient, I guess, Hardi. Yes, the patient can take diuretics if the edema is so severe. But diuretics, taking lifelong diuretics, it is a symptomatic treatment. No? Diuretics, you cannot take paracetamol always. You have it 3 days, 4 days. When it is severe, she can take. But most of the time, we give some exercises to the female. A ball should be taken in the hand and a pumping exercise. Ball को ऐसा करना है, वैसा pumping. So pumping से the remaining lymphatics will become overactive and the edema can be removed. And there is a bandage therapy which we offer such females. So we do the physiotherapy is the treatment. Basically, diuretics is not given unless until it is very severe and patient can't tolerate it. Then only we give diuretics, but temporarily, not the whole life. Done. So that is my answer to you, Hardi. I guess you got it. Done. So the three causes are done. Coming on the fourth cause of edema. What is the fourth cause of edema? The minor ones. Minor means interstitial pressure, that is oncotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure in the interstitium, but it is minor. I can leave it. There is no example of it as such. Coming on the fifth one, sodium water retention. Again, a very important one. Sodium and water retention. What do you mean by that? Sodium and water retention means क्या होता है? You know this diagram very well. Imagine a situation of heart failure, left heart failure. Imagine a situation of left heart failure. What will happen in left heart failure? You tell me. What will happen in left heart failure? Blood will not go forward now. So blood will not move forward in the aorta because left ventricle is not pumping. So blood is not going through the aorta. It is not distributed to the organs. One of the organs is kidney. So kidney is not receiving the blood. So whenever kidney do not receive the blood inside the kidney, whenever kidney do not receive the blood, this is the aorta. From aorta, this is the renal artery coming out. Whenever aorta has less blood, because of left ventricular failure, aorta has less blood. So less blood enters in the renal artery. So kidney is receiving less blood. So JJ apparatus inside the kidney got stimulated. This JJ apparatus will secrete renin in the blood. Renin is an enzyme. So that will be secreted in the blood. As soon as kidney will receive less blood, and it is very sensitive organ. As soon as it receives less blood, it will identify at that moment only, the same moment it will secrete renin. The JJ apparatus will secrete renin in the blood. So in the blood, this is the liver. Liver already synthesized a protein known as angiotensin. Angiotensin, it is already present in the blood. It is a protein synthesized by the liver. Angiotensinogen. It is present in the blood. And renin converts this angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. So renin does the conversion. Whenever there is fall in blood pressure or whenever there is hypovolemia, kidney receives less blood. So angiotensin 1 is formed. Angiotensin 1 is formed, then comes the role of the lungs. Lungs secrete another enzyme known as ACE. So renin and ACE are the enzymes. Renin is secreted by kidney. ACE is secreted by lungs. So this ACE does the second conversion. It converts angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. And ultimately angiotensin 2 is formed. This angiotensin 2 will go to the adrenal gland. It will go to the adrenal gland. You know, this is adrenal gland. And from the adrenal gland, it will secrete aldosterone in the blood. And this aldosterone will go to the kidney and it will do sodium and water retention. Sodium and water retention. Because kidney was receiving less blood now. So kidney will think that the blood is less in the body. Less than 5 liters of blood is present. That's why kidney will not excrete the urine and it will cause sodium water retention. That is renin angiotensinogen. Yes, RAS system is there. Milind, you are right. That I have explained in detail. So very few students knows about these organs. Actually, that's why I have elaborated it once. So in the whole system, this is a blood vessel. So few organs are involved. Liver is involved. Kidney is involved. Kidney, liver, then lungs are involved. And what else? Lungs are involved. And then adrenal is involved. This is adrenal. These organs are involved. So first and foremost, liver synthesize angiotensinogen. Angiotensin. It is a protein present in the blood inside me, inside you, but it is inactive. It will not do anything unless until it is got converted into angiotensin 1 and 2. When the renal artery, when this aorta carries less blood, so renal artery carries less blood. When kidney receives less blood, it secretes the enzyme known as renin. This renin will act on angiotensinogen and it will convert into angiotensin 1. And then again, lungs will secrete ACE. And this ACE will convert angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. This angiotensin 2 will act on the adrenal gland and causes the release of aldosterone. And this aldosterone will go to the kidney and do sodium water retention and urine excretion will be less. There will be oliguria. So sodium water retention will occur. And because of sodium water retention, patient will have edema. Patient will have edema. Give me a thumbs up fast. And whole scenario started by? The whole scenario started because the left ventricle was failed. That's why less blood in the aorta. So in heart failure, this is the mechanism. Say everyone give me a thumbs up. I tried my best in a simplified manner I can do. In a simplified manner I can do. Done. So left heart failure. So in heart failure, one of the cause of edema is sodium water retention also. Sodium water retention also. So in heart failure, I have told you this mechanism also. Mechanism number 1. That is increased hydrostatic pressure may be heart failure मैंने बताया था. And sodium water retention may be heart failure मैं बता रही हूँ. So for heart failure, 2 mechanisms are responsible. One is increased hydrostatic pressure. One is sodium water retention. Very important MCQ. Heart failure, 2 mechanisms are responsible. 2 mechanisms are responsible. Done. Done. Have you got it? Should I proceed ahead? So that is sodium water retention in heart failure. One more thing, sodium water retention in kidney failure. Renal failure, the same thing is written here. The same thing, you can read it later on. So heart failure, decreased renal flow. So activation of RAS. Activation of RAS, aldosterone will come. That will cause sodium water retention. More volume, it will cause edema. It will cause edema. So that is the mechanism I have already explained you. Done. The second is renal failure. Heart failure के अलावा renal failure. Normally, what is the function of the kidney? Why God has given kidneys to us? Kidney will synthesize the urine, will form the urine, and will excrete the deposit. They will give the urine in the urinary bladder, and urine will be excreted out of the body through urethra. Urine contains sodium and water. If the kidneys are damaged, if renal failure is there, bilateral renal failure, nephrotic syndrome is there, so kidney will not do its job. Kidney will not excrete Kidney will not form urine. Kidney will not excrete urine. It will not form urine. So again, in renal failure, we have sodium and water retention, and it will lead to edema. Because of sodium water retention, more volume, increased hydrostatic pressure, it will lead to edema. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. So for renal failure, which one of them are responsible? एक तो मैंने oncotic pressure बताया था, decrease oncotic pressure for renal failure, और दूसरा मैं ये बता रही हूँ, sodium water retention for renal failure. So sodium water retention, two examples are there: heart failure and renal failure. हार्ट फेलियर, इन हार्ट फेलियर के लिए 1 और 5, रीनल फेलियर के लिए 2 और 5. If you learn the sequence, give me a thumbs up. Everyone, give me a thumbs up. I really tried my best. Let me summarize. Let me summarize. What are the two mechanisms which cause heart failure? What are the two mechanisms which cause renal failure? Who will tell me? Who will tell me? One mechanism, two mechanism. You have to tell me. One mechanism is common in both of them. Sodium and water retention is common in both of them. The second mechanism in both of them is sodium and water. But the first mechanism differs. For heart failure, it is increased hydrostatic pressure. For renal failure, it is decreased oncotic pressure. Again, I have simplified. Again, I have simplified. How much I have simplified the things for you? Have you got it? The things are very simple. It is only the thing we have, how we look at the things. Done. So it is our orientation towards looking at anything. So have you got it? So, and many important MCQs are framed from these concepts. So heart failure, renal failure, what is the mechanism? So coming on the last, the sixth one, increased capillary permeability. Those who have, how many of you have attended my inflammation lecture yesterday? How many of you, the vascular events, the cellular events? Give me a thumbs up. I want the count. Give me a thumbs up. Those who are listening, how many of you have attended my inflammation lecture? The vascular events, 5 vascular events and 6 cellular events. I'm asking about vascular events. What were, okay, many of you. So what were the vascular events? The 5 vascular events. Increase, first vasoconstriction, that was transient. Then vasodilatation, that was persistent. Then increase hydrostatic pressure. Then increase vascular permeability. The fourth was, and fifth one was stasis. Okay, I'm interested in the fourth one. Increase vascular permeability, that is increased capillary permeability. In inflammation, the fourth step. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Let me draw a blood vessel for you. This is a blood vessel. This is the lining of the blood vessel. These are the endothelial cells. Normally there is no gap, but increased vascular permeability, the gaps are created. Okay, the gaps, I have to rub it. How I rub it? Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so in vascular permeability, the gaps are created. How the gaps are created? Likewise this. So the gaps are created between the endothelial cells, and from this gap, yesterday only I had told you, fluid will go out, protein will also go out, it will cause edema. The formation of this gaps is known as increased vascular permeability or capillary permeability, and fluid will go out. Along with the fluid, protein will also go out. So exudate type of edema will result. So that is the last cause of edema. That is the last cause. What is the example? Example, any insect bite. Any insect bite. Can you see any insect bite? Machhar katta hai na? So mosquito bite, any insect bite. So there is a localized edema at that point. Have you ever thought why edema occurs? If mosquito is biting me here, just I will rub here, I will itch here, and a small portion of edema is there. Why? Because of mosquito bite, the process of inflammation started, and at that particular localized capillary, there is increased vascular permeability and fluid come out from the gap. And that's why you have a localized edema there. So the reason for a localized edema after an insect bite is increased capillary permeability. Here is a capillary, so only this portion of capillary got increased permeability. Give me a thumbs up. And generalized edema can also be there. It is known as anasarca. Anasarca. All the whole body, the capillaries are showing gap formation, increased vascular permeability. That is the thing. So generalized edema, localized edema. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. So all 6 mechanisms are done by me. Done. Do you have any problem? Do you have any problem? Have you got it? Have you got it? The examples of each of them? Then I will tell you the types of edema. Edema is basically of 2 types: transudate, exudate. Transudate contains only fluid. It do not contain protein. Exudate, along with the fluid, it contains abundant of proteins and abundant of cells. So it is a protein rich and cell rich edema. It is a protein poor and cell poor edema. Let me tell you the same diagram drawn here. So let me tell you, this is a blood capillary, and this is the endothelial lining of the blood capillary. This is the endothelial lining of the blood capillary. So blood is traveling inside it. Imagine a situation if hydrostatic pressure is increased due to any reason. Hydrostatic pressure is increased. So what will happen? Fluid, the extra fluid will come out. In fluid, only water will come out. Only fluid will come out because the cells are continuous with each other. Protein will not come out. Only fluid will come out. Imagine another situation if the gaps are present due to increased vascular permeability, due to inflammation, gaps are present. If gaps are present, what will come out? If gaps are present, water to aayega hi aayega. Fluid will come out along with the fluid because gaps are there. Protein can also come out. Protein can also come out. So fluid along with protein and cells can also come out. WBC come out na. Neutrophil bahar aata hai na, extravasation, transmigration. So cells will also come out. So fluid along with protein along with cell, this is known as exudate. And only fluid, it is known as transudate. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Everyone give me a thumbs up. The same diagram which I have drawn is from Robbins. You can see here, you can see this is a normal. The first is normal blood vessel. See the lining. Please appreciate the lining. Let me zoom it out. Let me zoom it out. See the lining. These are the endothelial cells. These are continuous. And see, hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure are equal and opposite to each other. See the second diagram. In the second diagram, again, hydrostatic pressure increased, but oncotic pressure is decreased. So imbalance is there, but it is continuous. It is continuous. So please appreciate only fluid is coming out. See the background blue color. Can you see the background blue color here? It is fluid. The background blue color, it is fluid. So only fluid is coming out. See this third diagram. In the third diagram, please appreciate the gaps. Please appreciate the gaps in the third diagram. Can you appreciate this gap? Can you appreciate this gap? From the gap along with fluid protein, this is dot 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 is protein. Proteins and cells also coming out. So please appreciate the background. The background contains the blue color fluid along with cells, along with protein. This is exudate. Now give me a thumbs up. Now give me a thumbs up. Have you got the difference? So please learn the difference for MCQs. Transudate edema, exudate edema. Everyone give me a thumbs up. So transudate edema, exudate edema. The two types of edema are there. Here, it is non-inflammatory edema. Exudate edema is inflammatory because in inflammation only increased vascular permeability is there. Here, protein is less than 1. Here, protein is more than 2.5. Protein is less than 1 gram. Here, protein is more than 2.5. Here, cells are less. Here, cells are more. Protein is less. Protein is more. Glucose बाद में लेते हैं. Specific gravity is less. Protein is less. Cell is less. यहाँ पे protein is more. Cells are more. Specific gravity is more. Specific gravity is more. And LDH is also here is less. Here is more. Two things are opposite. pH and glucose. Let me draw a table for you for your understanding. This is transudate. This is exudate. Please write down the differences. So what about protein? What about cells? What about protein, cells, specific gravity and LDH? What about specific gravity? What about LDH? What about glucose? What about pH? Tell me 6 things. Tell me things. The first 4 things are less here and more here. More here. The first 4 things. Protein, that is the definition. Protein poor, protein rich. Cell poor, cell rich. Specific gravity is less in transudate, more in exudate. LDH is less in transudate, more in exudate. But glucose and pH are more in transudate and less in exudate. Give me a thumbs up. I tried my best. Again, I tried my best. So that you have to learn for your purpose. Done? And you know the examples. So that is the thing. So I have finished the edema. The first thing, edema is finished by me. So severe generalized edema is known as anasarca. Whole body edema is known as anasarca. Some important points. Whole body edema is known as anasarca. If edema is due to heart failure, edema occurs at dependent position. Dependent position means if the patient is standing, edema will occur in the legs. And if the patient is lying down, the edema will occur at the back. The edema will occur at the back and at the genitals. So at lying down. So that is known as dependent. And if the patient is standing, so edema will occur in the legs. So that is known as dependent edema. Dependent position पे होता है. So cardiac edema is always dependent. Always dependent. So that is a history you have to take the patient. If the patient is saying I am having edema, ask it at what position. So patient typically says when I stand up it is in the legs, when I lie down it is in the back. So typically this is the history given by the patient. It is a dependent edema which is a hallmark of cardiac edema. Give me a thumbs up. And the third thing is periorbital edema. What do you mean by periorbital? The edema around the eyes. So renal edema, renal failure wala edema is edema in the soft tissues around the eyes. So this is renal edema. So there are some clues. These are the some clues to identify the cause of the edema. So I'm done with the types of edema. Give me a thumbs up, everyone. And some important types of edema I would like to discuss here. Are you people there? Give me a thumbs up, everyone. Have you got it? What I have told you? I want thumbs up from everyone. Some important types of edema which I would like to tell you here is renal edema, cardiac edema, pulmonary edema, mixed edema, and hepatic edema. I have already discussed all the edema in one of the mechanism. In separately, if I say, I have already told you the 2 causes of renal edema. I have already told you the 2 causes of cardiac edema. Hepatic edema, there are 3 causes which I would like to discuss here. So there are various types of pulmonary edema is a type of cardiac edema only which occurs in left heart failure, not in right heart failure. So, and myxoedema is the edema which occurs in thyroid dysfunction. In thyroid dysfunction, myxoedema occurs. So you should know the mechanism of each of them for MCQs. So, but the time is limited. I guess we should stop here. And I would like to launch some polls based on this. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Let me launch the polls. Let me launch few polls on edema. You can crack these polls, so you will be confident that you understood it. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I will launch the polls. Okay, so this is the first question in front of you. You can see. Please mark the correct answer. Very easy question. Very easy question. Please mark the correct answer. Yes. Increased accumulation of fluid in the space is known as, this is known as edema or effusion or transudate or exudate. I'm asking increased accumulation of fluid in the interstitial space, not in the cavity, in the interstitial space. Yes, you all are right. The correct answer here is edema. That is the definition of edema. Hardi, Khushi and Jana are first to answer. If instead of interstitial space, I say accumulation of fluid in the cavity, what will be your answer? Write in the chat box. From these options only. Accumulation of fluid in the cavity, what it will be known as? What it will be known as? Yes, you all are right. It will be known as Surya, Priyanshu, it will be known as effusion. Yes, you all are right. So correct answer here is A. This is the next question in front of you. Be fast. Edema occurs when plasma protein is below what level? I have told you exactly level. Normal plasma protein is 8 gram per deciliter. 8 gram per deciliter. How much it should reduce to cause edema? Yes, it should reduce by 63%. That is 5 milligram per deciliter. So Oliva, Still and Hari Krish are first to answer it. So correct answer here is C. Correct answer here is C. This is the next question in front of you. Again a tricky question. Edema is caused by fall in plasma protein below what percentage? Below what? If 8 gram is 100%, 5 gram is what percent? It is 63%, but 63 is not given in the option. So closest to 63 is 50. So I will go with 50. So that's why D is the correct answer. Khushi, Milind and Anshul are first to answer it correctly. So correct answer here is D. I'm a little bit fast because time is limited, huh? Okay. Edema is due to. Read the 4 options. What is correct? What is the cause of edema? Correct cause of edema. I have told you 6 causes. Out of the 6 causes, which one is given correctly here? Which one is given correctly here? Very few of you are correct. I'm upset. Why? Why? The correct answer here is D. It is not increase osmotic pressure. It is decrease osmotic pressure. That's why this option is wrong. It is not decrease hydrostatic pressure. It is increase hydrostatic pressure. That's why this option is also wrong. So both of these options are wrong. Correct is decreased lymph flow or lymphatic flow obstruction. So correct among this is only one, that is D. So that's how tricky questions are created. Most of you trick में आ गए ना. So ऐसे trick में नहीं फंसना है. Examiner ने जाल बिछाया है तुम्हारे लिए. उसमें फंसना नहीं है. So Hema, Hari Krish and Still are first to answer. Give me a thumbs up if you got. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, Milind, you got confused. That is the only trick in the question. Don't get confused. So be calm during the question in the exams. That is a lesson you should learn. So correct answer here is D. This is the next question in front of you. I guess I'm right. Let me see. All of the following are included in the pathogenesis of edema except. The question contains except. Again, don't get confused. Don't rush. Read the question first. Tell me the correct answer. You should be fast, but oh, except pucha hai. Okay. Most of you are right. The correct answer here is A. It is not decreased hydrostatic pressure. It is increased hydrostatic pressure. That's why this option is wrong and that is our answer. Because except is answering the question. Rest 3 options are correct. It is decreased oncotic pressure. Yes, it is right. Lymphatic obstruction. Yes, it is right. Increased vascular permeability. Yes, it is right. But it is not decreased hydrostatic pressure. It should be increased. So that's why this option is wrong and A is our answer. Vaidehi, Mohammed and Hema answered it correctly and first. So correct answer here is A. Very good, guys. This is the next question in front of you. What is the definition of exudate? What is the definition of exudate? Mark the definition of exudate correctly. Mark the definition fast correctly. Yes, you all are right. It is the extravascular fluid that has a high protein concentration and high cellular debris. So transudate, exudate. I'm asking about exudate. So low protein. If instead of exudate, if I'm asking transudate, your answer will become B. Your answer will become B. So it depends on protein and cells. Done. So correct answer here is A. Most of you are right. This is the next question in front of you. Edema and nephrotic syndrome is due to. Nephrotic syndrome, renal failure, nephrotic syndrome. Edema and nephrotic syndrome is due to. Nephrotic syndrome. Now it is a confusing question. Renal failure is of two types. Nephritic, this portion skipped. I have skipped these slides. Time ho gaya, isliye padhaya nahi. And nephrotic. There are two types of renal failure, nephritic and nephrotic. So in nephritic syndrome, the cause of edema is sodium water retention. In nephrotic syndrome, the cause of edema is decreased oncotic pressure. Not tell me the correct answer. I'm asking about nephrotic. So the correct answer is decreased oncotic pressure. So the correct answer here is C, not A. If instead of nephrotic, if I ask nephritic, your answer will be A. So that portion is written in my notes, but the time is over. That's why I have not taught you. So Oliva, Harikrish and Kumar first to answer it. So that is the thing. Question, examiner, nephritic, nephrotic, किसी पे भी पूछ सकता है. The last question in front of you. Okay, the time is limited. I have to stop. So I'm stopping here. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed teaching you. Don't forget to give your feedback. And after just 5 minutes, my next class. 5 minutes. My next class is there at 4:15 sharp. Don't miss it. It is about IBQs. It is about IBQs on renal system. The spotters are there. So you can't afford missing it. Ask your friends, juniors, seniors, colleagues, batchmates, everyone to join it. After 5 minutes, join another link. That is IBQs. IBQs episode number 3. Today's third episode of IBQs, right? The first was on CVS, second was on RESP, today's on renal. So IBQs episode number 3, join that link after 5 minutes. Meanwhile, have a cup of coffee, refresh yourself, come back. Don't go anywhere. I'm ending this lecture. Bye-bye.